about the NFC North. We talked before the season started when we took a look at all the conferences, look at all the divisions. We said, this NFC North probably is going to be the strongest throughout the season because it involves the Chicago Bears, brand new quarterback Caleb Williams, and a great feeling about the Bears. And then the Detroit Lions, the class of the NFC North. And then it's the Minnesota Vikings and the Green Bay Packers. Well, it ends up that all the other teams, Cap, that's not named the Bears, they only play one more game than the Bears. That's what happened. Minnesota, Detroit, Green Bay all fall. And the biggest to fall is the Detroit Lions, because I know many had a ticket on the Lions to go all the way.
Yeah, that was disappointing. If you were hoping to see Dan Campbell get to the Super Bowl, I love Dan Campbell. I like that team a lot. It did not go their way. Jared Goff had a really bad night. Why Ben Johnson's running a Jamison Williams pass down 10 in the fourth, picked off. I didn't understand that. I also thought they got away from the run a little bit. I thought Jahmyr Gibbs was tearing it up early. David Montgomery did not look healthy to me.
Correct.
That burst. But whatever. Jared Goff turns it over, 3 interceptions, and the Williams interception. See you later. Thanks for coming. That's what can happen, and that's why it was such amazing theater all weekend long. Oh, and a message to our boss, the Jayhawk. Don't say a game is not a great game when it's 21-10, when it comes all the way down to the end in Baltimore and Buffalo. What a game.
So you mentioned Ben Johnson. Ben Johnson, that name is familiar. Ben Johnson, offensive coordinator for Detroit. Do I have that right?
That's correct.
I just only had a sip of coffee, so I'm just trying to remember. Ben Johnson, offensive coordinator for the Detroit Lions. Ben Johnson. Haven't we been talking about Ben Johnson possibly being
candidate for the Bears?
Yes, candidate for the Chicago Bears. That's right, Cap. That's why you're here, just to remind me of things. Mm-hmm. Cap, Ben Johnson, offensive coordinator for the Lions. Mm-hmm. When the lights shine brightest, the offense turned it over, and all of a sudden, those trick plays looked Nagy-like from Ben Johnson. Mm-hmm. Now, here's the thing. If you've only seen Ben Johnson in the Detroit Lions once, okay, so that's your takeaway. But we've been watching the Lions for years now with Ben Johnson at the helm. Mm-hmm. And there's times, especially against the Bears, that Ben Johnson will go to the back of the playbook and say, well, we can run these trick plays against the Bears because the Bears aren't very bright. They won't see it coming.
Yep.
Right? That's exactly why they did that.
Yep.
Early and often against the Bears, they said, here's a Penei Sewell play. Throw the football, Penei. We'll just do things because the Bears aren't bright. But, Cap, here's the thing. Everyone says that the flavor of the month is Ben Johnson, who should be the head coach of the Chicago Bears, because they see flares in the sky offensively for the Lions. They see those numbers from Jared Goff, how he's turned his career around, how the Lions were able to have success. But, Cap, you know what it comes down to? Mm-hmm. It's not exhibition season. It's not regular season. What it comes down to is that, again, the lights are a little brighter in the playoffs. What do? You have trick plays. Now, again, that's not really the whole story of the Lions, because as you laid out, when you turn the ball over 3 times, if you're Jared Goff, and that pick 6 was just a backbreaker, by the way, you just can't do it. You can't have a pick 6 in that spot. For whatever reason, Cap, when it got tight against a young upstart Washington Commanders team, mm-hmm. Ben Johnson did not come to the table. Now, you know that now that the Lions season's over, there won't be any wondering of whether or not Ben Johnson will interview for jobs, because I think at this point in time, he's got to get off that ship of the Lions and find his way to a head coaching job. But the question is, Bears fans, is that what you want? You sure?
Look,
you sure? Cap?
People are going to go, they put up 31 points and 500 yards. How bad a night could he have had? Well, first of all, I thought he got away from the run, as I just said, a little bit too much for me. I feel like he's a brilliant play caller. Brilliant. lot of gimmicky stuff at times. One works, one doesn't. He's never been a head coach. He's not bringing that offensive line here. He's not bringing Jahmyr Gibbs here. He's not bringing Amon-Ra St. Brown here. He's not bringing Jameson Williams here. He's not bringing Sam Laporta here. He's not bringing David Montgomery here. So he's an awesome football coach.
Sure.
For me, I'd rather, if I'm hiring a coordinator, and I've said I want a head coach. If I can't get a head coach and I'm getting a coordinator, I'm taking Todd Monken. That's the guy I want.
But what about Ben Johnson, though, Cap? The flares in the sky, all those big numbers. All I know is that those still do count, those numbers. But again, last night left a really bitter taste in my mouth based on feeling like you're panicking. If you're behind, you still have to be wedded to your running game and whatever you've done in the regular season. But to me, when you do the razzle-dazzle and the jazz hands offensively, that shows panic. And it would say, for instance, Ben Johnson's on the sidelines and the Bears are down. Are we getting Ben Johnson or are we getting Vinny Johnson? Because that's how he was coaching yesterday. Microwave. That's what he looked like, Cap. Seriously. Because by the way, what we're talking about is what we have seen for years. The offensive coordinator that comes in with the finger guns, with the trick plays, because I want to show you how smart I am. When ultimately it's just about being able to run the football and be able to have a good offense to be able to get the ball down the field. This is what Goff and the Lions have done for the majority of the season. But the Commanders, though, here's the thing that's so impressive about them. And this relates to Ben Johnson. It relates to the Lions as well. Here's the Commanders. You know what this is, Shay? This is kind of like having a freshman in college basketball. And that freshman or that new group that come into a team has no idea about the past. They came through the portal. They don't have no idea about, hey, we can't win here, or, man, it's a tough spot. They don't know. So when I watch Jaden Daniels, he doesn't know what he doesn't know. He's like you're a rookie quarterback and you're playing at Ford Field, one of the great home field advantages of the National Football League, against a Lions team that's supposed to go to the Super Bowl. He doesn't know that. He's just playing. He reminds me of just a shooter, Cap, in college basketball. It's like, man, we never win here in this building. We don't? I don't know that. And that's how the Commanders play, where they're not necessarily outstanding defensively, but good enough against that Lions team. And Jaden Daniels, give him credit against that Lions. And by the way, I know Aaron Glenn is not necessarily a candidate for the Bears job, but hey, Saints fans, is that what you want?
He doesn't have all his toys, though. You got 5 starters out.
Football's not perfect. Things happen.
Yeah, but
you got 5 starters out.
They have so much gone off their defense. Their best pass rusher, maybe the best pass rusher in the NFL, one of them.
Yeah. Yeah, no, all people look at is the final score at the end of the day. Yeah, there's some players out. But you know what? Even players out, the Lions have always shown resolve, but not in that spot.
Yeah, I don't judge on one game. I think Aaron Glenn's an awesome football coach. Mm-hmm. And from what I hear, an awesome dude. Mm-hmm. So, yeah,
I think the Vikings game might have been a bit of a mirage, too. They had been getting 30-pieced by everybody they saw after the injuries started to pile up. I feel bad for Aaron Glenn. He had none of his toys. What are you supposed to do?
Win at home and not lose against the Washington Commanders. I mean, that's the assignment, and you failed the assignment.
I blame Ben Johnson more than I blame Aaron Glenn. Ben Johnson has all his toys. Aaron Glenn's down 5-6 starters on his defense against the 3rd most explosive offense in football. What are you supposed to do?
You're supposed to win the football game. I mean, that's what Dan Campbell says. I'm just listening to what the coach says. And all I can tell you is
I get it, Hoodie, I get it. But, Aaron Glenn with actual players on his defense probably doesn't look the way that it looked at the end of this season. Right? Fair?
I think that's fair.
It's not often that you lose 6 starters on one side of the football in a season, and then you have to go into the playoffs that way.
I don't think that you can lose games, but you don't lose games that way. I mean, you're at home and you get doubled up by the Washington Commanders. Players or no players, you're supposed to play better than that. And actually, 31 points should have been enough to be able to win a football game, playoffs or not. And again, the turnover really was the factor of all of it.
I'll tell you,
turnovers. The idea that, again, I can't get over the pick 6. That's just, you just can't do that if you're Jared Goff. That's tough.
Although they're saying now that he got hit in the face and the head, and it should have been a penalty and the interception wiped out.
Yeah, well, if he wore Patrick Mahomes' number, it probably would have been.
Did you see Walt Anderson on SportsCenter yesterday? I sent it to you guys.
Yeah.
He said both calls were correct. I think that the pass the roughing in the face, I got no problem with that one.
On the roughing the passer, whenever the defender comes in, and there's a couple of points, and when we end up looking at the video, I think the audience will end up seeing this. But when the defenders come in, and when they end up coming in face to face, if there's contact to the head of the quarterback, that's probably going to be called by the officials. And that's what you can see here. Now, it has to be forcible. And one of the things we added this year is if there's no contact at all to the helmet, replay can assist. But on this play, there was contact. And so replay could not help the officials with picking that up. Now, you can end up having to, debate about whether you felt it was forcible or not. And that's going to be one of those conversations for the competition committee to consider next year. But when he comes in right there face to face, officials are going to call that. That's the rule for this year. And the other thing that a lot of your audience might not realize is in most all of the rule book, when in question, officials are not supposed to call a foul. But there's one place in the rule book where it states by rule that when in doubt, officials are to call roughing the passer, and it's in the roughing the passer rule.
So I did not have a problem with that one. The one on the ground when the two guys collided into each other and Mahomes underneath.
It's ridiculous.
I'm like, how is that unnecessary roughness?
Football privilege happens all the time to the greats.
But people said that about Jordan.
Yeah, of course. And Brady.
How did Michael get that call? How did Brady get? Because you earn that status.
By the way, the Walt Anderson thing going on ESPN to explain it, I don't need it. NFL employee tells people NFL did right. Oh, what a shock.
I don't mind the Walt Anderson. I just don't know why he brought his piano while he was explaining. Very odd. Kap and J Hood presented by ESPN Bet. New users can get $1,500 back in bonus bets if your first bet doesn't win. Plus, unlock 30 days of ESPN Plus. Download the ESPN Bet Sportsbook app and use promo code radio. Now, Cap, we're just laying out what happened to the Lions and Ben Johnson as the offensive coordinator. We believe that he will be a head coach, but I think that we should ask Bears fans how they feel now, because it's been overwhelming on our poll questions, and I'm sure in your mentions as well, that Ben Johnson should be the next head coach of the Chicago Bears. Now, again, the skins are on the wall, and the proof is in the pudding that Ben Johnson has been very good for Jared Goff in that offense. It's been potent, running, you got weapons and all that. But what about in the big moment? What happened there? So you sure that you're not getting Nagy 2.0? You sure about that?
You don't know because he's never been a head coach. And I've been clear. He's in my top three, obviously, sure, but he's not my number one. I know there are a lot of people that, oh, God, we have to get him. That's fine. I'm choosing to go in a different direction. Diana Rossini tweeted this morning. Mm-hmm. Ben Johnson is expected to lock in his schedule over the next days for in-person meetings. So far, 3 teams, Raiders, Bears, and Jaguars, have shown strong interest in him. But that said, it's possible Johnson will not even meet with all 3 as he's still figuring out his next steps.
And just reeling from the game against the Washington Commanders needs a minute to just breathe a little bit. I think that when we talked last week on whether or not he would sit out the coaching cycle or not, I think that if you're going to jump ship, you're going to do it now. You're going to do it right now. Because there's a number of jobs that are available for you. You could be able to put your stamp on a team the way you want to coach it, and I think you can move forward from there. I'll tell you why. This loss we saw over the weekend is, to me, worse than the title game. It hurts. I would think it hurts a Lions fan even more so because, again, everyone believed in you, feeling like from what happened last year, losing to the 49ers, okay, you learned, and you're going to be able to move forward now because you got a year of seasoning. And then to lose in the first round like this in the divisional playoff against the Washington Commanders is tough. Not just lose, beat down. 45-31 at home. No, sir.
No, sir.
So I think both coordinators will find a job, and then Dan Campbell's got to figure it out from there.
Correct. So the question is, Monken's available. McCarthy is interviewing in New Orleans on their campus, their facilities, tomorrow. And Ben Johnson's available. Mm-hmm. So what do you do if you're Ryan Poles? Do you move quickly and get somebody of that top, we believe that's their top 3. Do you move quickly and go, Todd, Ryan Poles, I need you here tonight.
Sure.
I got to get you in here.
Not if Baltimore lost.
Right.
Monken is available.
Correct. Do you do that? Do you call McCarthy today and go, hey, we're sending that jet back. Get ready to get to Wheeling because we want to get this done today.
Mm-hmm.
You're not going to New Orleans to interview. Or do you sit and wait on Ben Johnson when it looks like Lance Newmark from Washington's front office? That's Ben's guy. He was with the Lions forever. He and Ben are tight. That's believed to be his preferred GM candidate. And Brady did the interview, was in on the interview with Lance Newmark. He sat in the room with him. So could that possibly be the way it's going?
Possibly. Or would you go Miak Swack and try and find Eddie George and bring him in?
Eddie George also was here in town. You won't remember this. We got offered Eddie George as a guest a couple of years ago.
Mm-hmm.
And for whatever reason, we passed. And Eddie George was starring in the musical Chicago.
That's right.
He performed here.
Yeah.
And I heard he was amazing.
Yeah.
And now he's the head coach at Tennessee State and went 9-4 this year.
Mm-hmm.
He is a amazingly cool dude to listen to talk. Super polished. Like, he's got a lot of boxes to check as a football man, as a Renaissance man. I just don't think it's his time yet to get the Bears shot.
No. I met him, by the way, a year and a half ago at the B&A at the airport in Nashville.
Mm-hmm.
Guess he was out recruiting, clearly, because he's sitting in the airport waiting for his baggage claim. Saw him standing there. Hey, Eddie, I got your jersey. Or jersey. I wear that 27 because I respect Eddie George. I loved when he played.
Super cool.
That's the only reason why that I've got it. But, Cap, I was thinking about this over the weekend. I know that the Bears are made fun of because they've got a a laundry list of names that they've talked to. We say about George McCaskey or the McCaskey family that they don't talk enough to other organizations, the successful ones, to find out how to win. Well, in this scenario, Ryan Poles, I think for the amount of people he's talked to, a number of them are not serious candidates to be the head coach for the Chicago Bears or getting the head coaching position. I don't think so. Like Eddie George, you bring him to ask, hey, man, so what's working for you there? And I don't think it's like this whole thing where it's like 20 names, like an FBI wall, where they have strings to one guy or another. Well, I think it's him. And it's not that. I don't think they have 20 names on the wall and they're just like, no, we cross him out. No, I think they bring him in and I think it's smart to find out, how are you winning? What are you doing? Because you could take a little bit out of every conversation, as you well know. You could talk to someone for one time, but you could learn something from the one time you talk to someone. And so I think from Ryan Poles' standpoint, knowing his back is against the wall, a lot of those guys are not serious candidates to be the Chicago Bears head coach.
Correct.
Come on.
Correct.
Now, you want to bring them in, you want to fly them in, you want to Zoom with them, that's fine. Because I think with every conversation you have in life, you can learn something. And so from Ryan Poles' standpoint, he's not hiring Eddie George, but I think it's good to talk. This is the thing we get on management about, or ownership. Why don't you talk to the Kansas City Chiefs? Why don't you talk to the Philadelphia Eagles? Why don't you talk to those teams and find out how your bread and circuses work in your organization? How does your organizational staff work? How do you handle your fans? How do you handle your team? How do you make them comfortable? Those kind of things. Ryan Poles at least is talking to people, not seriously interviewing them to really be the head coach, but I'm sure with the yellow pad, you know what? I like that. And so that's it.
You guys do that way?
Intel.
Right.
Nothing wrong with that.
Right.
But Eddie George is not going to be the head coach of the Bears. And if he is, I'll fold the cards. That'll be all.
That'll be all.
That'll be all.
He's not ready to do that job just yet.
Mm-hmm.
Todd Monken is. Chicago guy. I talked to a friend of mine who knows him over the weekend. He said, this is the job he wants. Like, come home, be the Bears coach? And I said, okay, you know the guy. I don't. How about as a leader of men, B, hold people accountable in the room, C, build a team like the Bears need to have. You got to be able to run the football in this climate. We're not playing indoors yet. It's totally different. He said, yes, yes, and yes.
Mhm.
He said, you want to talk about a guy that if you guys get to do the coaches show, you'll have a good time? Oh, he said, you ask a question, you're getting a direct answer. He said 180 from Eberflus.
Okay, personality standpoint, that's checked off. I want to see how he's able to control the room and how he could be able to help the Bears win. Because here's the thing, even though the Packers and the Lions and the Vikings have all fallen, the Bears, don't think, Bears fans, that, oh, the Lions lost, so now we have. No, you don't. You're in the same spot.
Correct.
You had that. The Lions losing has nothing to do with the Chicago Bears. Because I know that's going to be the feeling for some. It's like they're laughing at the Lions, holding their stomach, pointing at the TV, laughing. Look at the Lions. I hate Detroit. But you're still the Bears.
You're still in last.
Just remember that.
Correct.
I'm talking about last, not just in the standings. You're last at GM. You're last at head coach because you don't have one. You're last in a lot of skill positions, especially on the defensive side of the football. So You got some work. You're still last on the offensive defensive line. See Tevin Jenkins over the weekend? He's talking to the press. Just like, I don't know what I want to do. Wasn't sure.
Yeah, I keep hearing he's not coming back here.
He said, I got a home here. My kids from here and all that. And he was kind of talking to the press. And I saw a guy that wanted to have a new opportunity and a fresh start.
Fresh start.
That's what I saw.
Agreed.
So this
Agreed.
Uninterrupted first half hour here on the Kap and J Hood Morning Show. It was Adam Schefter on the Get Up talking about the Lions. Lions lose, so now that speeds up the process for the head coach. Who are the Bears going to take? Let's find out.
It sped up the entire cycle because the teams that are looking for head coaches, the Saints, the Jets, the Bears, the Raiders, and the Jaguars, I don't think they were expecting the Commanders to win and for Ben Johnson and Aaron Glenn, the offensive and defensive coordinators of the Detroit Lions, to be in the mix, to be able to meet with teams starting tomorrow, and they can be hired as early as this week. And these two guys are expected to get head coaching jobs. I think with Ben Johnson, you're looking at the Las Vegas Raiders, the Chicago Bears, and the Jacksonville Jaguars, all square in the mix. And he's going to figure out, I think, this week where he wants to go. Aaron Glenn, square in the mix with the New Orleans Saints, the New York Jets, maybe the Jacksonville Jaguars or the Raiders. Now you start to look for hints and clues about things that are happening. The Las Vegas Raiders today are interviewing the Commanders' assistant GM, Lance Newmark, who spent the previous 26 years in Detroit working with Ben Johnson and Aaron Glenn. The Raiders could look to move on Lance Newmark, but Tom Brady also likes John Spytek, the Buccaneers' assistant GM. We'll see how that plays out. These two are the dominoes that have to fall before the other head coaches start to get hired, and I would expect that to start happening this week.
There's a reason why Adam Schefter, when talking about Ben Johnson, started with the Raiders first.
Yeah.
I think there's a reason why, because he gave off the list, right? He goes Raiders, Bears, Jacksonville. I think that Brady has eyes for Ben Johnson. And by the way, on our little game we had on Friday, check it off. Because I said I would like for Kevin Burkhardt to ask Brady about Ben Johnson and the head coaching search, and Brady answered it. He answered the question.
But the funny thing is, he never mentioned the name Ben Johnson. He never uttered the words Ben Johnson the entire game.
Smart.
Yes,
Smart. I'm glad that on camera that, again, Burkhardt turning to Tom and kind of asking him, just trying to get something out of him. It's a good answer. Didn't say Ben Johnson, though.
He never did.
Very careful.
Never, ever really. He did not do anything that you'd be like, I can't believe he said that. I thought it was much ado about nothing. I did. I said that last week. Whatever. I mean, if he's going to go to Vegas, whatever he does it in a broadcast isn't going to matter. It isn't. But we'll see what happens. I would think Ben Johnson's coaching somewhere by Friday. I would think the Bears have a coach by Friday.
Whomever it is, right?
Correct.
Mm-hmm.
Something's telling me that it's Todd Monken.
Just on the broadcast note, too, Tony Romo was fantastic last night.
He was very good.
Fantastic. That's the best game he's called in 7 years. That was excellent. Really good job by Romo. Credit where credit's due.
Yeah, he was good.
Was he? 312-332-ESPN, 332-3776 is our phone number.
Now, I'm wondering.
I'm doing laundry, by the way, while I'm watching the game, so I got Golic in my ear. So I've got Golic doing color.
Oh, you're watching the radio. You're listening to the radio.
Yeah, I'm moving around, but I was watching the game.
I'm going to the AFC Championship game on Sunday with my wife. Cannot wait. And I'm wondering if I can stream the game to listen to Nance and Romo while I'm watching it. Like in a stadium of whatever. I don't know how big Arrowhead is.
I'm sure they have Wi-Fi.
Yeah, but you know how that works. When there's 70,000 people all on their phones.
How badly do you need to listen to Nance and Romo that you're going to listen to them while you're at the game?
I like hearing the broadcast, like what happened is if there's a challenge. I like hearing all, what they talk about. I like that stuff.
That's going to be an impossibility for you. So just don't even try. You're going to be talking, and it's going to be Chiefs fans around. You're going to have a good time. You won't have time to listen. You'll be talking, so you don't have time to listen. The insight will be right in front of you.
I keep one little earpod, Beats earpod, right in the ear. That's it.
Cap, it won't happen. Especially how loud that crowd gets. You've been there.
I've been there
Okay.
I was at the AFC title game 2 years ago.
Hey.
I was at the Bears-Chiefs game last year.
Hey, could you do me a favor? Keep it down. Romo's talking. Take that. What's that, Tony? Hello. Good insight. You guys missed it. Great insight. I heard it myself. Take that. Hold on. Go, Chiefs, go. Hold on. Nance with a great call there. Bam! No, there's no need to do that.
Can you imagine? There's like a penalty that goes there's an offsides penalty or something, and the Chiefs fans are all losing their minds, screaming, "That's not a penalty!" And you just have Cap. Tony Romo just said on the broadcast it was offsides. The helmet was over the football.
Get this guy out of here. Boom!
Gene Steratore just said they got the call right.
They're throwing him off the upper deck.
How about last year when I went for the Bears game? Would they lose 41 to 10?
Good javelin.
I went to the game. It was gorgeous weather. We tailgated, and the game ends. I walk outside, and I'm standing in front of the Lamar Hunt statue.
Say it slowly. Go ahead.
I said Lamar.
Okay.
Doing my recap, and I had Chief fan after Chief. It's okay, buddy. We've been there. You'll win someday. And
So
I'm
bad.
like,
so condescending.
so condescending and patronizing.
So go give it back to him by providing Tony Romo's insight during plays that go against Kansas City.
Yeah.
And they'll launch you onto the field.
See, you're lucky I wasn't with you for that game, Cap. They would have been condescending and just like patting you on the head, and I would have been swinging on those. Get out of here. We don't need that. We're having a tough enough season. Get out of here.
41 to 10.
F off. Leave us alone.
I think that was the score, wasn't it?
By the way, the only time that works when you bring a headset to a game is baseball. And I mean like nobody in the stadium on a day game, on a businessman special. That's the only time that works. Bring a headset in. Ball one. One ball, no strikes to count. It's right in front of me, the game, and I got the play-by-play. One ball, one strike. The pitch. In an over 4 strike, and it's 1-2. One ball, 2 strikes.
Wow.
One ball, 2 strikes. It's nice and clear. 10,000 people in the stadium. You don't think I've done that in the Sox games before?
I'm sure you have.
Front the headset. There's not a lot of noise there. It's nice. Awesome.
I'm excited to go. It will be super freaking cool.
So we want to get your thoughts, Bears fans. 312-332-ESPN is our phone number. We know the Bears did not play, but it is a Bears NFL playoff Monday. As we talk about the playoffs, but the center of the attention is Ben Johnson, the OC for the Detroit Lions. Does he stay or is he coming to the Bears? Were you impressed? Let's talk about it.